Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012 episode review. This is going to be for Season 2, Episode 4, Mutagen Man Unleashed. Overall, this was it was a good episode. I really enjoyed it because not only did it reintroduce April back into the series after a break, and that's something I've made complaints about in my previous videos about the past two episodes not having her after a big focus in the first episode. It was great to come back to that. This episode also saw the introduction of Casey Jones into the series, who is obviously a one of the, I suppose, main other characters apart from the Turtles in April that most Turtles shows have. So it was nice to see him. He was done reasonably well. I wasn't a fan of the design going into the episode, but then actually seeing the character, the voice, the design, and how he acts, I actually kind of grew to like him over the course of the episode. I think the main issue I had with this one was that they kind of, it was kind of a bit cluttered with a lot of stuff going on. Not only did they introduce Casey Jones in this episode, but they brought the Turtles and April's kind of relationship back into this episode for the first time in a while, and they had the whole Mutagen Man plot as well. So there's three fairly important things going on in this episode, and I felt that they all kind of worked only to limit what the rest of the plots could do. In that, I felt that we didn't really get much development on April's relationship with the Turtles, and is she going to forgive them and go to trust them again, which also led to the Casey Jones kind of thing taking over that side of the story, and you see their relationship develop. They also had a Donatello kind of April kind of shipping plot as well with the Casey Jones thing. It was a very kind of cluttered episode with a lot of different things going on, and they were all linked together. It was not like there was an A plot, a B plot. It was all the same thing but linked together, and then of course the Mutagen Man thing. But overall, I think it worked reasonably well. It just it wasn't a perfect episode. I still think the first episode's been the best of the season so far. But getting into some specifics, Casey Jones, the design, I said I grew to like it, but it still, I don't think it's the best. I just think it's a little bit all, the missing teeth. It makes sense he's a hockey player, but I think definitely until he kind of puts, the typical hockey mask on and does what you expect him to do, it's just going to look a little bit odd. And definitely he didn't come across as the rest of the Casey Jones kind of characters that at least I know about, mainly 2003, where he knows how to fight. He's just kind of comes across as kind of trying to be tough, but didn't really work out that well in the fight. And April appears to be better than him at this point, which was interesting itself. We finally got to see her actually really get into a fight with someone and show her skills against Mutagen Man. That was cool. But the relationship that developed in this episode was interesting. That they really played it up because this was a kind of shipping episode almost of Turtles, and that you had those two kind of grow closer together. Donatello sees this and becomes jealous, and this goes on. The problem is that they've never actually really done anything with April and Donatello, in that it's all been kind of one-sided. Donatello likes April, but we really don't know how she feels about Donatello. So it's a little bit of a weird one in that they try to start this kind of shipping war type thing, but there was really nothing on one side of this kind of war. It's just odd. As I said at the end of season 1 of Turtles, what is the plan for this Donatello April thing? Especially now with her not really talking to the Turtles, it's just kind of weird what they're doing right now. And it really was kind of the Donatello focused episode, in that he had the April thing, he had the whole thing with Timothy, who is the Mutagen Man, and the Pulverizer, and he was the one getting advice from Splinter throughout the episode, and that basically that you can't really do anything right now. You have to give her time to kind of come back and trust you again. So the advice was good, but it didn't really help Donatello that much in a way. So it's kind of just this waiting game, I suppose, for April and the Turtles. But the actual Mutagen Man kind of side of the story was interesting. It kind of comes back to what I was again saying about the show previously, in that I think there's almost too many characters, mainly the villains. I think there's way too many villains at play in this show right now. Just because we already have a ton of villains. We have Shredder, all of his henchmen. There's Karai, and then there's the mutants as well. There's Snakeweed. I think is still going around. The Doctor who got transformed into a monkey. I think he's still going around. Plus every single other mutant basically in the series, still an enemy of the Turtles. Not to mention stuff like the Neutralizer, who hasn't really come back into things yet, and there's the Krang as well. So there's so many villains that I feel almost introducing like Timothy as a kind of pseudo villain was almost not needed, and that they could have done something else. I like that throughout the episode they didn't just like, okay, he's a villain now, and that yes, they had to fight him, but Donatello really kind of fought to protect him and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Now that they kind of have him kind of captured in a way, but definitely it's going to be an interesting plot to see where they go with the whole Timothy, his humanity, and the main thing, Donatello trying to find a cure for unmutating people, basically, which is going to be key, I suppose, maybe to April trusting the Turtles again, and also just helping the people who have been mutated kind of revert to normal, which, could play into something down the line if, one of the Turtles gets kind of hit with this anti-mutagen and they transform back into their kind of normal turtle, not a mutant turtle, so just that. What else? I suppose going back to the whole April and the Turtles and does she trust him or not? It was covered in the episode, but they didn't do much with it. It was kind of just this kind of thing of like she knew that everything going on based around like her and Casey getting into trouble was kind of in a way caused by the Turtles, and in a way it kind of made things worse because that sort of stuff was what caused her father to be mutated, and so her kind of relationship with Casey being kind of in a way affected by them doing stuff is kind of just not helping things. But the other thing was this again, April, in the most interesting part of the episode, when she's in school before she meets Casey, she talks about how she's going to try to be normal again, that she's not going to talk about mutant turtles, she's not going to talk about this martial arts stuff, not talk about her father being a mutant now, and she's just going to try to be normal. But it's kind of the one thing that in season 1 she really accepted the fact that she's not quite normal. She is kind of friends with these turtles, and she is actually their friend. She hangs around with them all the time, and that's who she is. She's not the kind of typical normal person, and so it's kind of this going to be this interesting thing to see how they go with April's kind of vision of herself, and that is she going to accept the fact that that's kind of where she's meant to be with the turtles and not this ordinary life she expects. But yeah, overall, as I said, this is probably going to be a shorter review, but it was a reasonably good episode. The fight scenes were interesting enough. With Mutagen Man, I'm not really sure what they were kind of doing. I think they needed to explain a bit why he was so eager to get Mutagen, because he's been around in the kind of thing for a while, and we've not really known that he's needed Mutagen. So it was just interesting to see that he just kind of got addicted to Mutagen in this episode, and it just kind of came out of nowhere almost, but it was an interesting design, I suppose, of a character in Mutant Man, and the fact that he was basically like acid, you know, he could melt stuff, and the fact that he was doing everything in the end because he wants April to be his friend alone was interesting in the way that Donatello kind of caused this by talking about April around him a lot. But yeah, again, putting a lot of stuff on Donatello that he feels responsible for needing to find a cure to this was interesting, and gives him this kind of big arc throughout this kind of series that he's going to have to try and come up with this, and it's going to be difficult. You know, even as smart as he is, it's difficult. So they've presented Donatello with something, which is something I was looking for, giving the turtles individually something big, and with Donatello they have that with the whole April thing, as well as needing to find a cure. Now I just wanted to do this with the rest of the turtles. So overall, this episode did some nice stuff, got the plot moving along in multiple ways. So I like that, and on the whole, it was a good episode with only some minor issues about like maybe too many kind of things going into one story with Casey, Mutant Man, and the kind of shipping romance stuff and April's trusting the turtles or not. But on the whole, it was good. So thanks for watching this video review, and bye.